positive results coming through amidst all of this. That remember your face mask, to keep that on every time you find yourself stepping outside to engage any other person outside your home. Keep your face mask on. It's very important. And then hand washing. We can't overstate that. You know, it's so easy for us to get our hands infected, and unfortunately, because you can't see, you know, the virus, it's easy to take it for granted that, oh, I washed my hands just 5 minutes ago. But question is, what are some of the things you've done in that 5 minutes? You touched a door handle that is not disinfected. What have you picked up? Who else has touched that door handle? You know, so these are some of the things that we need to think about. So hand washing is absolutely critical for us to maintain, to make sure that anytime you inadvertently touch your face or nose, eyes, you're not infecting yourself, you know, by accident. So just make sure you keep washing your hands with soap under running water. 20 seconds minimum is the advice.
Yes, and in as much as we are championing exercise, and it doesn't necessarily mean that you have to step out of your home to exercise. There are lots of exercise that you can do right within your home, and with the help of the internet, you can always Google something to do. And speaking of people who are still disobeying orders and being outside, we're going to show you what exactly is going on with our policemen and women who are outside morning till evening, ensuring our safety, and some of us still deciding to go out when we don't have to, right? So in certain areas, you see that people have complied. You walk around and you don't see anyone. So as I was driving on my way to work, I think the biggest problem I saw were people jogging in East Legon and Adabraka, but walking through Kanda, driving through Kanda to here, I didn't see much of that on my way. But in these residential areas, you see people still working out, and these are highly educated people who should know better, right? So if we are so uncomfortable with the 3-week lockdown and we continue to disobey and the numbers continue to go up, the inevitable will happen. They might extend the lockdown, right? So I think we should all try our best. And one thing I've also noticed, David, is a lot of mentally challenged people are outside, right? Who's actually paying attention to our brothers and sisters who are suffering from mental health issues? Because we know that when the chop bars were still out, all the kinky sellers, all the watcher sellers were still out, these people used to give some of their food to our mentally challenged brothers and sisters. But now, majority of them don't operate all day long, although they are exempted. Most of them don't go out because, to be frank, if you are servicing a specific company and they've closed down and their employees are no longer reporting to work, there's no point of cooking and selling. So you find a lot of them out there on our streets, and we need to ask some critical questions about how we are taking care of them, how we are, ensuring that they have places to be. We can't turn a blind eye to what is going on around us.
Yeah, the lockdown directives are very clear. You stay within your community to get food, to find, all the basic needs that you have, you need is within your community. So if you're going to step outside your community, the instruction is that you need to be part of the exempt group of people, or show your IDs. And even if you're a part of the exempt group, you need to be carrying your IDs with you as well. Okay, so a lot of people are not following these directives and are finding themselves feeling harassed and all of that when they go out of the house, and some people just decide that, look, I rather want to go all the way to X place from, where I am, just because I've been in-house for the last 4 or 5 days and I'm tired of it. So I'm going, across the city. That's not what we're supposed to be doing, all right? Let's do our best. It's a few more days to go. If we do this thing right, okay, and the Ghana Health Service gets on top of things, the lockdown could be, eased. But if we don't, then there'll be an extension. We can't have both. All right. So we need to do what is right now, so that as soon as possible, the lockdown can be eased for us to be able to go about our daily lives as we all want to. So it's very important to remember this. All right.
Yeah. And unfortunately, there was a demolition at Old Fadama that has brought about this whole debate about, even though people might be living in a community illegally, is this the time to actually go and destroy whatever shelter they have built for themselves? So we have a report on that. We'll take a look and then continue the conversation.
This is where we used to have our residents, our rooms with myself and my brothers and friends. And as I talk to you right now, the rooms are gone. And those rooms were really demolished by the excavator right there.
Mohammed is married and a father of 3. He has lived here for over 12 years, but now his family is homeless.
I had to ask my wife to join her colleagues who were already 15 in their room, to join them with the kids. So that was what happened. And my major concern is, should one person in the room has this coronavirus, what is going to happen to my family?
The Accra Metropolitan Assembly says the sighting of buildings like that of Mohammed close to the Odo hampers its efforts at desilting the drain. It has thus justified the demolition exercise, indicating that the residents were given prior notice, even though they are fully aware they shouldn't be living along the stretch. The assembly might be justified legally, but what happens to Bishra Abu, who is a head porter and already isn't sure how she would make ends meet under the partial lockdown? Bishra is forced to sleep just anywhere at all she can find space to lay her head. She and her colleague head porter Musa Rahman are still in shock of the reality that stares them now in the face.
I never sleep on the floor. Just yesterday that I witnessed it. I never sleep on the floor. So I'm not feeling good when I'm sleeping there. So they can steal us, somebody can kill us, somebody can rape us.
Literally unemployed, now homeless and unable to return to their hometowns. These are the many challenges that bedevil Mohammed, Idrisu, Bishra, Rahman and their over 100 other colleagues at Old Fadama.
What we are appealing, our sisters and our brothers, a lot of people are need, if they get a road, they can go home.
The dilemma here is, how do you strike a balance between strict enforcement of the law and being considerate on a humanitarian basis? I'm not sure I know the answer. A reporter for Citi News, my name is Michael.
So that's a report by our colleague Michael Obodu. And from the very early days of this pandemic, we've been telling people to respect social distancing. We've been questioning how some of the most vulnerable people amongst us will find places to live that would enable them respect social distancing. So it might be legally right to demolish these structures, but is this the right timing? And did we even provide an alternative for them? And I think they have every right to say, if you are going to render us homeless in Accra, then allow us go back to wherever it is we came from.
Yeah.
Because maybe if we go back to wherever villages we came from, we may live well. I mean, you heard the man. His wife had to join a house, a room, not even a house, a room that already had 10 people in it because they are homeless, right? So for me, the law is one thing, and our morals and our ethics is another thing, because irrespective of where you find yourself, you are still a citizen of this country, and you should be accorded certain things, like a basic right to life. even if you've done something illegally, there should be an alternative that, okay, for the next 2-3 months, we're going to house you in this hostel. We're going to house you in this structure that this church or mosque has built, so that you can get back on your feet. But for Ghanaian citizens to live 10 in a room, 15 in a room, at a time where we are experiencing a lockdown, specifically so that we can trace the spread and contain the spread of coronavirus, it makes no sense to me.
Yeah, it's a very difficult conversation because there are so many different sides to this. All right, so there's a side where the Kole Lagoon needs to be dredged, and this is what the AMA is embarking on dredging. Now, part of the challenge is because over time, okay, the community at Old Fadama has not been restrained from spreading towards the Kole Lagoon, right? So what has happened is that they actually live on the rubbish heap. Yeah. That's literally, to put it that way. They live amongst filth, rubbish. So that in itself is a public health hazard. Okay, so there's the issue of dredging that the AMA needs to do, so that's their responsibility. Then there's the issue of, and of course, if you clear the rubbish from there, you dredge once, twice, you wouldn't have to dredge as often as that. But then there's the issue of the people where they live. That's no place for human beings to live. It's not dignifying. So that's one. That's another one. Then the other issue is basically providing the people a decent place for them to live. Okay, we have all these buildings that we've built, low-cost housing in different places. We have schools that are closed. Just looking at different options. What are the options for where they can stay temporarily whilst some of these activities are, undertaken? I think it's very important for us to think through the entire process of what it is that we are doing, because yes, you need to do the dredging. Yes, you need to clear the places so that you can, clear it for the greater good of the entire city, right? But do you do that and leave them stranded at this time with no place to go? It's a very difficult conversation, and I think that it's important for leaders. Leadership is not easy, but that's why not everybody can be a leader. Yeah. So then when you're there, you need to do the hard work of thinking through the entire process, and providing solutions so that nobody gets hard done by. Yeah.
Yeah. And I get where AMA is coming from. I empathize with them. I mean, it's going to rain. The floods are going to come. If they don't do what they need to do, we will come on air and blame them for not setting in place preventive measures to ensure that when it does rain, people won't suffer from the flooding. But these are still human lives that you're talking about. And every single Ghanaian should be entitled to some sort of right to life. And part of your right to life is a place to sleep at night. There are children in this. There are families with children, and the children have nowhere to go. So it's one thing to say we need to do what we need to do to ensure that the entire country is safe, the entire city is fine. But these are people who are the most vulnerable amongst us. Already, before being homeless, they were struggling to feed themselves. Because you go into our markets, there's not much demand for kayayis anymore. The kinds of things they depended on for their daily bread no longer exist. They've been begging to go back to their hometowns since we closed down this city. For 2 weeks now, a lot of the kayayis have been asking, just test us or let us know our status and let's go back to where we came from. Because the reason why we all migrated to Accra in the first place was so that we can make some money to take care of our families. If we don't have any money, we don't have any property, we have nothing, there's no need for us to continue to stay here. So this is an opportunity for you to engage them in a way that's a bit more empathetic, that's a bit more humane, to say, although you guys have done the wrong thing, and we have to understand that even that is a result of poverty. If they had the right money, they wouldn't be living on top of trash. They wouldn't be there. No one with a decent amount of disposable income will choose to live in that environment. The state has failed them. These are people who should have been provided affordable housing in the first place. We failed to do that. Desperation drove them to find solutions for themselves. If we are going to demolish the places they've gone to identify as homes, the least we can do is to provide an alternative solution, especially in times of crisis. In a time where we are saying we cannot afford to spread this virus. And to be frank, it will cost us more to treat them if they are found positive of coronavirus than it will for us to provide them a decent place to live, good food to eat, perhaps keep them there for a month, test them, ensure that they are all negative, put them all on a bus, and help them get back to their hometown. It's not as this isn't a classic case of people who are just homeless with nowhere to go. They have places they migrated from that they can go to, eat and sleep comfortably, even if it's a mat on a floor. They don't have to sleep on rubbish. So I think this is a failure on all of us. And it's good that we can hear from the mayor so that he can give us a little more understanding on exactly what's going on and what they are going to do to help these citizens of Ghana.
All right, we have the mayor on the line with us. Good morning, Honorable Ejay Soa.
Good morning.
How are you doing this morning?
I'm doing well. What about you?
Well, very good, thank you, and welcome to Breakfast Daily.
Thank you very much.
So, help us to have a good understanding on the demolition exercise that took place yesterday. What's the thinking behind it?
Well, thank you very much for having me. Let me first of all correct a certain statement. It's a voluntary removal of buckets and not a demolition exercise carried out, as we used to do. To take you back a bit, when we organized the massive cleanup exercise in Accra, together with the Minister for Sanitation, we got to Galloway section of Old Fataban, where the minister had invited dredge masters to come and dredge the odor, because if it rains today heavily, it will flood that whole enclave, and even sometimes you get a backflow of the water to affect the people of Odona, Sahara, where TF and Citi TV is also based.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, quite a handful of them had moved almost into the odor, and the equipment that must be used to dredge it down cannot get access. The Lembu can't get access. And there's a community leadership there. In that community, they have a development leadership that everything is run through them. They have a chairman, they have a 21 tribal heads there that are all members of the community decision-making body. They have the NDC and NPP local chairperson, and then they have the Muslim chairperson as well. So this is the composition of the decision-making body over there. So the minister and myself invited their leaders and then spoke to them that, look, we needed to do this dredging to avoid any
Flooding.
to avoid any problem in case it rains. So we appealed to them to remove their structures. The few people who are there to remove their structures there. We are aware that it will affect close to 200 people also over there. And that's what took place. Now the question is that, okay, if people have been moved either voluntarily by themselves over there where do they live in this lockdown period. We've engaged the leadership once again, providing tents to them within this period so that they can have a place. It is not a place that they are supposed to be there in the very first place. If you go back to Old Fadaman as I speak now, from the second side up along the entire bank of the Korle Lagoon, the community leadership themselves is taking a decision that nobody should go there because it will affect them, and definitely anytime there's going to be a dredging, and this will happen, and people will assume that we are doing demolition, but that is not the case.
Okay. So the leadership of the community, as you said, have decided to restrict people from staying at the place where those structures have now been removed. You did mention something about tents, providing tents. Has that been done already, or is that yet to be done?
Yes, so it's in the process, because apart from this, there's a much bigger issue there of people that place also got burned a couple of days ago, that we are also working with them. And one of the things that we are doing there is that, once again, the community leadership had also insisted that an access route should be provided, because the Ghana Water Fire Service, the Ghana Fire Service had complained severally that in any time there's a fire outbreak there, it is not because they do not have the skill and capacity to fight the fire, but they don't get access. So they should also take advantage to create access. This is also being led by the committee leadership. Now that they have taken the decision, they will provide them with a grader to create that access for them. Some of these things may affect one person or the other, but that's a community decision. That one person or two could possibly be sacrificed for the community. Note that the central government decision, as I speak to you now, is not to relocate the people, but to have the people, and that's why we are providing them with a lot of washrooms and public toilets and some of these things provided. That is this government decision, which we are complying with it.
Okay, Mr. J. this is Jifa. My question to you is, where exactly are these tents located? How many of them have been provided the tents? Because as at yesterday when Michael Obodu went there, a lot of them told him that they were homeless and that they are staying 10 to 15 people in a room. And we know that in this era of coronavirus, that is a deadly way to spread the virus if one of them ends up being positive. So where exactly are they being housed now? How many tents are being provided? How many people to a tent?
So, as I said, it is those whose structures got banned. They were the people that we started with.
How many? Yes.
Now, in this case, I must tell you that there are some people also over there who also stay outside. So once we are able to detect the number of people who are properly affected and they are there, and then we provide them with these additional facilities, that shelter that we're talking about.
So we didn't have the numbers before we went in to do this exercise?
Sorry?
Did you have the exact number of the people who will be affected so that at least you will provide a solution for them before you went in to do this?
Well, and I'm saying that in that community,
yes,
once there are people that I know over there that they come to do business and they go back.
Yes, my question is for the people who actually live there.
They come to do business and they go. And we use the community leadership to do the auditing and to continue with the engagement. And note that this is a continuous exercise. It is not just a one-day event. So as we continue to engage and provide the services, there are many things that we are also doing. We're providing them with food, we're providing them with some other things as well.
Okay, thank you very much, Mayor Mohammed Ejay Soa, and we hope that perhaps at least by the end of the day, all the people who live there will be provided some sort of shelter so that they will have a place to live and not have to buddy up 10 to 15 to a room. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. You're welcome.
All right.
And thank you guys for staying. This is still Breakfast Daily on Citi TV. My name is Jivayukia Amatam.
And I'm David Kwekusechi.
Don't go anywhere. News reviews next. We'll be right back.
Data, extra minutes, and extra unlimited calls. Not just that, TV Now extra data doesn't expire. You need to simply dial *111# to bundle now. Airtel Tigo. Life is simple.
I got some money.
There is nothing as hard as a diamond. For buildings with superior strength that withstand all weather conditions, Diamond Cement should be your preferred choice. Locate Diamond Cement nationwide with factories in Aflao, Takrady, and Bupe. Diamond Cement, as hard as a diamond.
Welcome back. This is Breakfast Daily on Citi TV. Thank you so much for staying with us. We'll take a look at our newspaper headlines, then some online stories, then introduce our guests who are already seated here with us. Let's start off with the Daily Graphic. On the front page of the Daily Graphic, we have disregard video on reopening of schools. That's coming from the Director General of GES, and that story is on page 11. We can't fight COVID-19 in fear. Dr. Letitia Appiah, and that story is also on page 11. Zenith Bank supports COVID-19 fund with 1 million Ghana cedis. That story is on page 20 of the Daily Graphic. And finally, blood banks run dry. Dr. Justina Ansah is saying that, and that story is on page 3 of the Daily Graphic. We'll now take a look at the Ghanaian Times. COVID-19 National Trust Fund receives 3.2 million Ghana cedis, $250,000 donations. That story is on page 12. COVID-19, 143 casual workers laid off at Tamale Hospital. That story is on page 13. Tor MD resigns over bribery scandal. That story is on page 13. And finally, public warning. Coronavirus is real. Follow prevention protocols to stop COVID-19 spread. That story is on page 13 of the Ghanaian Times. We'll now take a look at the new Crusading Guide and then go on to some online stories. Tor boss resigns over $4.5 million bribery allegations. Story on pages 3 and 10. Bloody clash at Kokrobite. You can read more on that in the new Crusading Guide. We'll now go on to some online stories. I'm going to read from citynewsroom.com. On City Newsroom, we have use old register for 2020 polls if coronavirus challenges linger. Codeo advises EC. Ghana's COVID-19 case count now 641. Coronavirus, Papa Owusu and Koma in stable condition. Ghana's mission in the UK. It's coming from the Ghana's mission in UK. Pregnant Ghanaian nurse in UK dies of coronavirus. May her soul rest in peace. Parliament resumes sitting on Friday. We'll now take a look at some business news from citybusinessnews.com. Government should have investigated allegations against Tours Asante Berko. That's coming from the IES. 50% of American businesses in Ghana severely hit by COVID-19 fight. Inflation rate for March remains at 7.8%. Electricity tariffs must go down despite government's relief to consumers. That's coming from CUTS. COVID-19 cases in Ghana now 641 with 83 recoveries. We'll now take a look at some more local news from myjoyonline.com. Are you at risk of COVID-19? This KNUST app can help with an answer. It's really great innovation. Squatters at Old Fadama sleep in the open after city authorities demolished their makeshift homes. Really sad one there. When I take a look at some international news from bbcnews.com. Coronavirus. Pregnant nurse dies, but baby well after delivery. And of course, you can get all of your news from citynewsroom.com and all of your business news from citybusinessnews.com. Now, throughout the news review, we want to hear from you. So wherever you're watching us from, if you're on Facebook, you can comment down below. If you're on other social media platforms, the hashtag is Breakfast Daily. And if you want to reach us directly, the WhatsApp line is 0550-585-832. If you're outside Ghana, the country code is +233. I've been joined by Honorable Roxanne Nelson Dafiamepo, who's the MP of South Dai. Good morning.
Morning, my dear.
How are you?
Wow, we're trying to stay safe.
Good. And of course, I also have with me Honorable Andrew Mesa. But before we get to Honorable Andrew Mesa, how has this coronavirus season treated you? How have you adjusted to the new normal?
Well, all of us. Honestly, I just returned from the constituency. I arrived yesterday night. I had the opportunity of meeting with the Regional Emergency Public Health Committee, which is overseeing the arrangements in the region. And our people are affected. You know, yesterday in Germany market, of all places,
wow,
we went around and they were conscious of the efforts to stay safe. And the region has agreed that instead of closing the markets completely, for instance, we're going to space out the sales points. So we are looking for open spaces in order to do that, so that people can have food to live. You know, you need to live first before you fight. Yes, so we are affected, and I don't think our lifestyles as we know it will ever be the same again.
Yeah, we'll make it work. But thank you for being here.
My pleasure.
We also have Honorable Andrew Mesa, who's the MP of 2nd D. Good morning.
Morning, Jiva.
How are you?
By His grace, I'm well.
Good. How are you adjusting to coronavirus times?
It's not easy having to wear a mask every time that you step out of your car. It's not pleasant at all, but we are not in normal times, so we really don't have a choice than to stick to the protocols so that at least we can protect ourselves and our families.
How are your constituents doing?
Thankfully, my constituency is not under lockdown, but I always take the opportunity to admonish everybody, particularly those in my constituency, that look, even though we are not part of the lockdown zone, it's always important that if you don't have any business in town, you stay home, because you never know, particularly when the lockdown was declared in Accra.
Yeah.
A lot of people trooped to the western region and other regions where the lockdown was not in place, you know, and so you never know who may have brought it down. Thankfully, you had a 2-week window, and only one reported case of a Chinese man who returned back home from a previous trip is the one who's been infected in the western region, to my knowledge. And so we can confidently say that western region, the pandemic is not widespread in that area. So by and large, the people who reside there are safe. But it's always important that you remain indoors, abide by the social distancing protocols or the hygiene protocols that have been outlaid. We abide by them to ensure that we protect ourselves and our families, so that we can be part of life post COVID-19. And I'm particularly excited that my predecessor, His Excellency Papa Uzankuma, yesterday we saw a statement from the Ghana mission that even though he's contracted the disease, he's in stable condition. Because over the weekend, the news that we're hearing wasn't too pleasant.
Yeah.
So the clarity that has been issued by the mission puts to rest the fears that many people in my constituency and across the nation have expressed. And we hope him speedy recovery.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah.
So we'll take a look at our first story. I'm going to read from citynewsroom.com. And again, throughout the news review, we want to hear from you because it's an interactive show. So let us know what you're thinking with the hashtag Breakfast Daily and the WhatsApp line 0550-585-832. If you're outside Ghana, the country code is +233. So our first story has to do with the new case counts as well as the new recoveries. It says COVID-19 number of recovered persons increased to 83. So 83 infected persons have recovered from the novel coronavirus in Ghana, according to the Ghana Health Service. The 83 were part of the 266 confirmed cases under the routine surveillance. Ghana's case count of coronavirus has risen to 641. GHS confirmed this on Wednesday, 15th April 2020, via its website, the GhanaHealthService.org. So I'm going to quote them. The 5 new cases were recorded in the following locations, one from the Adentan municipality and 2 each from the Ayawaso East and Ayawaso Central municipalities, with the exception of one of the cases from Ayawaso East. All the new cases are asymptomatic. Cases of the new contacts of the new cases are being listed for follow-up. So the regional breakdown are Greater Accra region, 514 positive cases, Ashanti region, 53 positive cases, Eastern region, 41, Upper West region, 7, Volta region, 9, Upper East region, 4, Northeast region, 1, Northern region, 10, Central region, 1, and Western region, 1. Globally, about 2 million people have been confirmed positive with coronavirus, and about 130,000 people have died. In Ghana, we've lost 8 lives to this virus. Honorable Dafiameko, let me start with you. And I would worry you to put it over your nose.
I'm struggling to breathe. That's a difficulty. Okay, it's okay.
Just in case I happen to be asymptomatic, you don't want to catch it.
I agree.
Go ahead on the new cases.
It's worrying, particularly when we are getting cases from now outside of the lockdown areas. For instance, in the Volta region, we have 9 cases. The 6 out of the 9 came from mandatory quarantine. The other 3 came from walk-ins, persons who just visited a hospital for symptoms of, say, malaria, and then it turned out that they must take their samples and test
for corona.
For corona, and they tested positive. They are not dying though. They are well, they are clinically well. So that's the situation.
We just have just 2 severe cases in the whole country. Is good.
So it's worrying that the rate of communal infection is inching up. And so we must take the precautions seriously.
Okay.
I just spoke about the awareness among my people in my constituency, and it's good. Okay. But it's inching up, and I don't know when we're going to hit the plateau and get a decline. Because
what more should we be doing that we are not doing? From
I
your
think a lot of people are not taking the precautions seriously.
Okay.
Okay. Because on my way here, I saw a lot of vehicles on the road, taxis. Oh, where are we going? You know, and the police too. It's not as if they check the vehicles. They determine that yes, you have the right to go or to have a right of passage, and they turn others away. I see that everybody going through the queue is actually proceeding. You know, I don't see a situation where a vehicle is being turned away, one or two are being turned away to go back. No. We need to be a bit more forceful with the implementation of the protocol, because people are still going in and out of the lockdown areas.
Yeah.
And you know, initially it was 28 days, the incubation period. Then it dropped to 21. There's now 14. So within 2 weeks, nobody will show symptoms of it. And if the person is able to go in and out of the lockdown area, your guess is as good as mine. So the police will enforce the protocols more. Yesterday there was an incident on the motor involving one and my other colleague. They had created the barriers that they creates a backlog of about 2 or 3 hours traffic on the motorway.
Wow.
And we're rushing to get here prepared for tomorrow. And so we asked them that they know that there are some vehicles that are exempted. Those ones, they should create another lane.
Yeah.
Where the exempt ones. Today I was just coming, I saw an ambulance. The ambulance and myself, we were in the queue for about 30 minutes.
Wow.
Just to get cleared. So you don't allow an ambulance to go
wait.
No,
Yeah.
it's not right.
Yeah.
You don't treat an ambulance like the way you treat a taxi driver. It's not fair. That is why they are exempted.
Yeah.
But if you put all of them in the same bracket, it's another problem on the road. You know, and the precautions to people are going out to do other things other than getting essential commodities. And it's also a danger. You know, it's also a danger.
Let me help you. Just press this on your nose. Just press it. Yes, you'll be fine. Thank you.
I think we have to press
We're all
something.
learning.
Then the other issue is the PPEs. And yesterday it hit me when Dr. Alecha said some of the things are disposable, you see. So you go and give a PPE to a facility and you think you've done something. In a week it's done.
Yeah.
So you need to supply more. Then it hit me that yes, even the sanitizers, we have to keep supplying.
Yeah.
Because they are using it and it's getting finished.
But that's a great opportunity for local manufacturers, right?
Yes, but they are not sufficient.
How so?
Because I know Geok, they have produced some. Adonko, they have also produced some. And a few other pharmaceutical manufacturers. But they are still in short supply. You see, because if I supply, I donate to my frontline people, and in a week I need to supply more. And that costs money.
Yeah.
So I suspect that where the donations have been made and they are out of stock, it means then they will be working without the use. Exactly. You know, it's another matter that came up. So we need to be supplying maybe every 2 weeks interval.
Okay.
Like the hand gloves, the face masks, the sanitizers, and the soap.
Yeah.
And there are a lot of places I went yesterday. The things that I supplied 2 weeks ago, the liquid soap is finished.
Wow.
So I have had to get them Guardian and promise that when I return next week, I'll provide more.
Wow.
So we need a lot of efforts on rolling basis.
Okay.
It's not a one-off thing that we can donate and forget about it.
Okay.
Because they are not reusable.
Yeah.
It's another thing that we must think about. So we pray that we hit the plateau, we don't get to 1,000. It can only come from the efforts we make as collectively.
Yeah.
As for the government, we are all the government.
Yeah.
Government can only do much. We have to, the nitty-gritties will have to come from
all of us.
All of us.
Thank you very
much. We take
much.
the education too seriously.
Thank you, Honourable. Now, Honourable Mensah, 641 positive cases, 83 recoveries. What do you make of this?
Well, good morning. Good morning to your good self, Roxanne, and our cherry viewers. We are not in normal times, obviously. 641. I was hoping we will never get there.
Yeah.
But we are here. and I guess that Roxanne has said it all. Government can only do as much, but the responsibility of taking care of ourselves rests with us. You know, of course, community support with Veronica buckets and soaps and hand sanitizers, by all means I agree. But any individuals ought to be aware that the duty to protect yourself is yours.
Have we done enough to get people on the ground at the grassroots level to understand?
It's all part of the education. That's why we all leave our homes this morning to come and join you here.
Yes.
So that people who are watching us, who haven't heard, because like I always say, sometimes when there's an heated argument and somebody makes a comment that I interject, I do so because I recognize that, look, not everybody is going to have time to sit on the TV or
to
watch TV
everything.
absolutely for the entirety of the program, and may assume that whatever has been said is factual. You know, it's not the best, I agree. And so it's not everybody who probably has heard the news and dissected it in a manner that would compel him to, as it were, abide by the protocols that constantly are being, you know, pronounced. So it's important that we come and have the conversation so that people get to know and also carry the message across. This is a dangerous disease. Of course, it's not everybody who gets affected or infected who gets to lose his life. Those who have some pre-existing conditions are the ones that are more vulnerable. But if you can prevent contracting it by staying home if you don't have any business in town, why not?
Yeah.
My wife is always fighting with me that, hey, why are you leaving home every morning to go and do media work? I said, well, duty calls.
Yeah.
You know, somebody has to do it. But the important thing is that I take the appropriate measures to protect myself. And I'm glad that at least your studio is, you know, reflecting the appropriate social distancing protocols. You've given us face mask when we came into your studio, even though it's not very pleasant wearing it and speaking through it. You know, trying to breathe.
But you're both trying,
but
and
at least
we all have to adapt
at
to
least
the new.
We know that it helps in the protection.
Yeah.
You know, so it's important that we all abide by the protocols that are being announced. In our own small ways, try to educate people as much as we can, so that, like Roxanne said, we do not get to the plateau of the 1,000 number.
Yeah.
Yesterday, and let me use this opportunity to congratulate my very good friend, Dr. Okoboy. You know, I was not aware that he was being vetted yesterday. When I got to hear of the news, it was late indeed. It was on your platform that I saw on Facebook. But I wasn't appropriately dressed to go to Parliament because I wasn't wearing a tie, even though I had a jacket on and I couldn't attend. But he said something that struck me, that we are in control.
Yeah.
And that for me was refreshing. Indeed, I've had previous discussions with him, and I strongly was of the view that a nationwide lockdown was the way to go. Yes, I'm not an expert.
There are people who agree with that. They're saying that when we first started off, maybe we had a few cases in Accra or Boase Kumasi. Now 10 out of the 16 regions have recorded cases.
But
Should we do a nationwide lockdown?
If you listen to the history behind how those people in those regions got contracted, then it may not be entirely the case that, you know. And like I was saying, I was of the view that, look, lock down the entire country. Yes, it's my feeling.
Why?
Because I want everybody protected if that is the way to go.
But if we're struggling to even get people to comply in Accra,
there
how
you
would
go.
it work
then,
in the other 16
then that's why the experts' view then ought to be respected by all.
Okay.
And so he explained to me why it is the case that it may not be necessary to do a nationwide lockdown, because the primary contacts, the infestation rate was in the region of some 1.2, 1.3%. If it was in the region of about 3%, then clearly it would have been advisable to do a nationwide lockdown. But because the infestation rate or the primary contacts were relatively low, then what it meant was that the rate of spread is not as widespread. And so maybe locking down Accra and Kumasi and extending the lockdown by another 1 week as some buffer to ensure
that
we
will extend the lockdown?
Well, it's been extended by a week. I don't know.
We are almost done.
Of course, I mean, I'm not aware of what it is that the science behind.
But looking around you, the cases increasing.
That's why I'm making reference to Dr. Okuboy's vetting yesterday. That it was reassuring that we are in control, because they are the experts. They are much more knowledgeable on how the modeling and all that work, and they then can proffer advice to His Excellency the President on whether to extend the lockdown or not. But let's wait. His Excellency the President indicated quite clearly that look, this is subject to review at all times. The situation is very fluid, as I understand it, and that if we abide by the protocols that have been laid out, we may not get to the thousands, and the number of people who may be infected would be contained as much as possible.
Now, let's look at the complications that have come up as a result of the lockdown. A lot of KIAs have been complaining that they are homeless, even though we were told that the Gender Ministry was going to provide places for them to sleep. There are lots of vulnerable people asking to be sent back to their hometowns because living in Accra now has become very unbearable.
Excuse me.
We see a lot of mentally challenged people in our streets now. How do we address these issues?
It's difficult. And for me, the real learning going forward that I think all of us should collectively put our minds to is how we gather data, information about the composition of the various segments of our country. Yes, we've had population censuses in the past that seeks to count us, but do we really know the numbers of the various demographics? Do we know the numbers of people who are destitute, who are underprivileged?
Maybe this is an opportunity for us to do that.
That's exactly the point I'm making. You know, so yes, you see, it's important for, yes, I recognize the challenges that we've all witnessed, some on social media platforms, some clearly overstretched. I make reference to those that are overstretched with respect to what... there are some MPs who are complaining that the food distribution, for instance, are being done through party lines, you see, and the like. So then why didn't they show us the party cards that were being demanded? But they express those encounters by themselves on TV. Okay. Because if that is indeed what is happening... You don't believe it's happening? I don't think so at all. Okay. Who will ask that bring your party card before food is given to somebody who is desperate for food? Okay. Who will do that? I hear them say that, look, these things have been given to school feeding caterers, and that the suspicion is that most of the school feeding caterers are MPP people. It's possible. I don't know. Okay? But if that is the case, what other mechanism is available for cooking food that the ministry is dishing out to people? Bear in mind that these school feeding caterers have a contract already in place with the Ministry of Women Gender to provide food for school children. Now the school children are at home. Government took a decision that, look, we're going to provide some dry food which is being administered through the beds that has been set at the Ministry of Finance in collaboration with the faith-based organizations. I have a list of 10,000 households that have been given dry food through the ministry in collaboration with the Catholic Bishops' Conference, the Pentecostal Council, the Chief Imam's Secretary.
Were those households random selection? Or?
So they gave it to the churches. Okay. So that the churches can then give it to their members that they know. Excellent. They gave it to the Chief Imam for him to distribute in the various localities. And there's a list.
They directly engaged stakeholders.
Absolutely. Okay. You know, and so that is being done. And then there's another section that is being catered by the Ministry of Women and Gender, Women and Children. Because there's a recognition that it's not everybody who sleeps on the street potentially who has a kitchen to cook raw food when those persons are given. So these contractors who are already in place and are not feeding the school children because they are all home now should be used as a vehicle to cook the food and then distribute it. Maybe there's challenges with the distribution of the food because the number of people per the estimation that was used, which came from NADMO. And my understanding is that NADMO estimates Accra Kumasi to be in the region of about 8 million.
Okay.
So 5% of that is in the region of 400,000.
Yeah.
They are the people that the government of Ghana is providing food for. Maybe the numbers are insufficient.
Yeah.
And so
we have to review.
Absolutely.
Okay.
And those kinds of conversations, I think they are worthwhile having. But to go out there and paint a picture as if to say people are actually demanding party cards, then you have to provide evidence to support that.
Okay, so
merely putting it out there without any proof or basis is what worries me.
Okay.
I don't think we should play politics with this COVID-19 matter at all. If there are alternative ways of cooking food and distributing in a manner that will ensure that those who need it actually get it. But let's sit around the table and have a conversation.
Thank you.
But these accusations of, I've gone to visit Kayayes and they are crying that they have no food and you don't put them on camera. But you then turn around and come and stand on the camera and say all sorts of things. What are you really talking about?
With us, it's still Breakfast Daily. It's an interactive show, so we want to hear from you. Don't forget to use the hashtag Breakfast Daily and our WhatsApp line 0550-585-832 for us to hear from you. If you're outside Ghana, the country code is +233. We'll hear from Honorable Defiamekpo right after these messages.
There is no promise we cannot keep. There is no commitment we cannot honor. There is no delivery we cannot guarantee. There is only one Bethel Logistics Company Limited, a licensed international freight forwarding and clearing agent, a trusted global brand with an extensive network for the movement of air freight and ocean freight worldwide. We are the trusted name for road freight into Western and Northern Africa. We are fully accredited by Ghana Customs and Excise. We cater for all your freight forwarding, customs clearing and forwarding, cross trades, inland transportation, internal cargo tracking systems, customer freight costing and consultancy, cold chain logistics management, logistics and warehousing, quality inspection, and much more. In Accra, Tema, and Takrady, we are always available to ensure easy movement of cargo countrywide. Call us on 0204 528 900 or 0244 707 859. Email info@bethellogistics.com. Locate us in Accra at North Ridge, adjacent Accra Girls High School, or in Tema at Community 4, or in Takrady on the second floor of the GCB building. Website bethellogistics.com. Bethlog, experts in shipping logistics.
Welcome back. This is still Breakfast Daily on Citi TV. Thank you so much for staying with us. The hashtag again is Breakfast Daily and the WhatsApp line is 0550-585-832. I want to hear from you, so please send us those messages. And if you're outside Ghana, the country code is +233. Before the break, we were discussing the Ghana coronavirus cases is now at 641 positive cases, but we have 83 recoveries. And we were talking about some of the issues that have come up as a result of the lockdown. Kayayes complaining of not having a place to sleep, people asking to be sent back to their hometowns. And we want to hear from Honorable Defiamekpo on this issue.
Yes, thank you. I sat and I listened to my brother, and I thought that I thought I would hear him condemn the incident.
The allegations, you mean?
Yes, and it's not an allegation.
Okay.
Because the person, the woman who was asked to produce her card, her party card, and couldn't, actually spoke to the media people. And I don't know if you read in the news that Dumelo actually had to go and surprise her. It's something we shouldn't condone.
Okay.
And look, the use of the school feeding caterers, it's all right because they have the facilities. And we are looking at cooking at such a large scale. So for me, I have no problems using the school feeding caterers.
Okay.
And I know for a fact that it's not all the caterers who are party people belonging to the NPP. There are few who are also in the NDC. There are also few who are also apolitical. Some, some allocation go to Queen Mother. So those things, where we've gotten to now, I don't want to, but where it is condemnable, my brother should join me and let's condemn it.
Absolutely. I don't have any difficulty in doing that.
Where even water tanker distributing water, you see them draped in party colors. It's uncalled for. We know it's the NPP that is in power. They are implementing the project, and so nobody will take it away from them. You don't have to drape some of these things in party paraphernalia. That's what is nauseating. But that's just by the by. Some of the complications. For instance, I listened to our colleague, Dr. Zanetta Rawlings, and I can appreciate her perspective, because you see, the station is in her constituency, and it has a lot of the person's socially deprived people, and they are unable to work because of the lockdown, and they don't have accommodation, place to lay their head, and it appears that the distribution of the food is not being done in that area. So she has had to go and provide them food, and she complained. So she complained that the distribution should be fairly done. We should be able to zone the areas. So the national action plan, and its members should be able to identify some of these serious areas and pay attention in terms of the distribution. It's a social intervention. So let the people who are deprived receive them. That's another one. The other
Please
issue,
wrap up for us.
yes, quickly. The other issue is that it appears, Japan, we don't have enough testing centers.
How so?
Yes, because so far we have only 4. We have Noguchi, Kumasi.
We've been able to do over 40,000 tests.
Yes, but imagine that we have 10 of them. The testing will be faster. There are a lot of pending cases. And the danger is that I pray that out of the thousands of cases that are pending, we don't have a lot of positives. Government should be able to open a lot of testing centers in Tamale, Volta, and then the upper regions, and then in the west. It helps. It speeds up the process.
In all 10 regions that have recorded cases.
Because when the tests are coming out, it tells you what you should do. If you are getting a lot of positives, it helps you to plan and put in a lot more measures.
That's true.
But if the tests are coming out and you are getting negative, then you know that the measures are producing results, right results. So the results we should be able to have a lot more testing centers.
Thank you. Okay, continue.
Then finally, we should be able to, like I said before, the PPEs, it should not be a one-time thing. We've forgotten all about that. We should be donating maybe on a monthly basis to the institutions. It appears they too are not aware that when you are exhausted.
But there's a number to call when you need more PPEs.
Yes, but it appears I've tried the number 3 times. I think sometime last week. Just to test.
Number.
Just to test it.
You are one of the reasons why.
Because they say people shouldn't be prank
calling. You are one of the reasons why the number is not.
No, it's not a prank call, because you see, I get a lot of messages from my constituents.
So you're doing it on behalf of them?
Yes, just so that I can let them know that it's actually working. So now they have to call me. Then I call the medical school for some intervention.
Wow.
So even the lines are not enough. The 3 lines are not enough. This is the whole country. And we should have regional lines as well. And even district lines. So
thank you very much.
These are my perspectives.
We'll take a look at our second story. I'm reading from citynewsroom.com, and it says TOR MD Asante Berko resigns after bribery allegations in the U.S. So the managing director of the Tama Oil Refinery, Asante Berko, has resigned. His resignation comes after he was dragged to court for allegedly making illegal payments to gain approval for a client's power plant project from 2015 through at least 2016. So the Director of Communications at the Presidency, Eugene Ahen, indicated that the President, Nana Dankwa Akufo-Addo, has accepted the resignation and has since notified the Board of Directors of TOR about the development. Now, the allegations against Mr. Berko are pretty deep. The Securities and Exchange Commission of the U.S. are accusing him of violating the Foreign Corrupt Practice Act of 1977. So, Honorable Mesa, I'll start with you on this issue of the kinds of things they've said against him, as far as the allegations, something along the lines of bribing parliamentarians and him resigning, and should we also investigate him locally as well?
It's interesting how you harped on parliamentarians.
We are both parliamentarians. And is it a practice in Parliament? Perhaps you might want to clarify
I've heard the Minority Chief Whip, Honorable Muntaka, deny categorically that any such funds were paid to Parliament. But you see, this story, which broke in the past 2 days, has developed a lot of angles. I yesterday morning was expecting what has happened.
Yeah.
Because then it puts the issues clearly.
Why were you expecting it?
Yes, because this is a gentleman who got appointed very recently. And these allegations have been leveled against him. People have raised issue as regards what level of due diligence was carried out to warrant or prior to his appointment. Yeah. And Roxanne would bear with me that to the extent that this investigation, because it's now metamorphosized into an action.
Yeah.
So some investigation was pending against him. In itself will not be triggered when you do any criminal background check, because there's no criminal conviction against him.
Yeah.
Correct?
Yeah.
So it cannot be the case that nobody did due diligence, because it's paramount that before any such appointments are made, the national security agencies will do a criminal background check of the individual to find out whether indeed he's committed some offenses which would prevent him from holding any such position. No such fact will pop up in any criminal background check that you do, either in US, UK, or in Ghana. Because the man has not been convicted.
Yeah.
So it cannot be the case that people did not do due diligence prior to Zampano. But these are grave allegations. Indeed, I have read the entire document, and the gravamen of it is contained between paragraphs 55 and 70.
Okay.
Where
70, 72.
Yes. Serious allegations, dates, emails, persons in
conversations. Yeah.
It cannot be the figment of anybody's imagination. Nobody can sit in his office and put such facts together. Yes, I've seen the statement that has been issued by Mr. Asantebeko.
He just, raised monies and got a percentage.
Yes, he says that, well, he did not participate in any payment of bribes. He didn't say no bribes were paid. Yes, he is denying his involvement in bribe paying.
Okay.
And goes further to say that, to his knowledge, the Turkish company engaged a Ghanaian company to undertake their activities relative to engagement with government officials with respect to the Ghana transaction. His role was limited to finance raising.
But he was, when you look at the paragraph,
I'm saying that is what he says.
Saying, okay, go ahead.
Okay, but if you read the paragraphs 55 to 72, well, it's I'm a lawyer, so let me restrain myself into going into the detail, because this is
the brief may come to you.
Oh, it will not come to me. This is a matter that
what
is
do you make of
pending
this?
But
the fact
for
that
me,
potentially some parliamentarians might have received bribes to perhaps approve of this proposal to Parliament.
It ought to be investigated.
Is this something that's a standard
I
in
think
Parliament
that
or
no.
practice?
You see, parliamentarians don't take bribes.
Okay.
I've been in Parliament for 3 years. Okay, you go to certain committee meetings and allowances are paid.
Okay.
And so why does that amount to bribery? You go for conferences, seminars, committee meetings out of town, and allowances are paid. Your transport is paid to you. Your allowances, hotel allowances, and all that are paid to you.
But there's no such thing as some $60,000 being shared.
That's why I'm saying that it ought to be investigated.
Okay.
Because, well, in the first place, I was not in the 6th Parliament where this transaction took place. That's why I made reference to Honorable Muntaka, who says that he was a member of the Energy Committee, and that no such $60,000 were paid to Parliament. In any event, 66. In any event, there are 275 MPs. Correct?
Yeah.
So 66,000 divided by 275 will come to how much? So really.
Well, it doesn't mean that
I'm not saying
no,
I agree. Even if it was only limited to the committee, assuming the committee potentially is about 20, 22, 23, in some instances
the
28.
energy was 25.
But it seems as though even the budget for the energy was different from, according to the allegations.
He's only analyzing the issues.
Yeah.
But you see, for me, these are matters that cannot be swept under the carpet.
So you think we should do a domestic investigation?
Absolutely. Without
is
a
it
doubt.
enough that he has resigned, or we should definitely look into all the allegations? It
can never be enough for him to just resign.
Okay. Should he have just stepped aside instead of resigning outrightly? So as we've had instances where people will step aside for the investigations to continue and then perhaps come back to
I cannot speak to that because for me it's irrelevant.
Okay.
As far as I'm concerned. These are matters that can never be swept under the carpet. We were in some difficulty with power. I have always believed the position that was articulated by the then vice presidential candidate of the New Patriotic Party, that our power crisis was all financial. Why? Because if you look at the generation capacity and our consumption, at the time when President Kufuor was leaving office, we had in the region of some 1,900.
Okay.
Bui, which is producing, I believe, 400 or 600, hadn't come on stream. So if you add Bui, that puts us at some 2,300, 2,500. How much do we consume today? 2,300 peak. Yes, I agree that there is a need for us to have some buffer so that if some emergency repairs ought to be done on some existing plants, then we don't encounter sustained outages. But our friends contracted power up to about 5,000, many of which were on take-or-pay basis. And if it turns out today that some of those contracts were procured through fraudulent or some corrupt means, it can never be enough for the person who has been charged. And the only reason why the Securities and Exchange Commission could charge only Asante Beko and not the rest of the people are because they are not American citizens. They are not. The Ghanaian intermediary and the government official 1 and 2 that were mentioned in there, and the politically exposed person who is described as a brother of the former president.
Well, I don't think.
It's in there, black and white. Ask him if I'm not going to.
They mentioned the former president.
Yes, he says a brother.
Okay, continue.
Okay, I'm not American citizens and I'm not subject to the jurisdiction of the United States court. But Asante Beko is a dual national, and so they can charge him. But beyond that, these are not matters that we can leave lying.
So we should investigate all individuals who are appointed locally.
Absolutely, without a doubt.
Okay.
Because we need to bring some closure to this matter.
Okay.
Already we are unclear about the Airbus.
Well, we won't go there, but let me
why
hear
not?
from...
These are all related.
Yes, okay, go ahead.
These are matters that put the integrity and the reputation of this country at stake.
Okay.
So it's important that if public officers indeed participated and awarded contracts to companies based on some influence, clearly that offends our criminal law.
Yeah.
And we cannot leave it lying.
But should we wait for the U.S. to conclude?
I don't think so at all.
You don't think so?
I don't think so. Okay. I don't think so because the facts are clear. And of course, there are mutual legal arrangements between us and the United States that the government of Ghana can trigger to obtain the raw data.
Okay.
Because, of course, like I told you earlier, because some persons are not subject to American jurisdiction and so their names were not mentioned, we can, almost with certainty, point to individuals.
So the fact that this is as a result of an investigation by the Americans.
John Jinapor make a statement on this to the effect that, well, he was only deputy and that he was not part of the negotiation. But he was deputy to an individual whom we all know And so that individual ought to
Should be
answer.
investigated as well.
Absolutely.
Okay.
So that we get to the bottom of this.
Do you think locally
because it's becoming one too many?
We've done enough to, as far as investigating the kinds of contracts our government sign? Because we always hear of some of these things from, Westerners, and then we take up from there. Have we done enough to really scrutinize some of these contracts that we sign?
Maybe not, because the institutional capacity that we have, and it was President Obama who said that we should focus on building institutions. I've always said, because Roxanne and I participating in drafting the Office of the Special Prosecutor's Bill.
Okay.
It's a monster. Okay, and he would bear with me that when we are the committee,
so we can hear from him.
people asked questions, including Honorable Babin, if you recall, that, hey, why do you people want to saddle yourself with this kind of, but it can only develop into the kind of institution that we would wish for it to be, as has been provided for in the law. Okay. So I'm not one of the people who are quick to bash.
Are you satisfied with the current state of
Not entirely, but that's like I'm saying, that if we allow it to grow,
it will get there.
Absolutely, it should get there. Because, look, that legislation, unless, of course, you don't understand the text of that law in public office, you won't dare.
Okay.
But when people clearly, and of course, corruption is not carried out in broad daylight. It's always underground.
Yeah.
And it takes people who, have the resources, who have the institutional capacity to conduct the kind of investigations that we have. I know we have some institutions here, YOCO, and the Attorney General's Department, and the BNI and the CID. But do they have the institutional capacity that will enable them do these kinds of things on behalf of the Republic of? And I think that we should resource these institutions as much as possible to enable them get there, so that we can reduce significantly the spate of corruption in our public service.
Thank you very much. Honorable Defiamiko, what do you make of the resignation as well as the allegations of corruption and, bribing people?
I'll take it out from where he left off. I am worried, and he's worried, but sometimes he fears to say it publicly.
Okay.
Yes.
What are you worried about?
About the functioning of the Office of the Special Prosecutor.
Okay.
Connected
to this.
Yes, I will. Okay. For instance, the referral that the president did in respect of the Airbus matter. The president ought not to have referred the matter before he would have proceeded.
Yeah.
He has the power to proceed. And indeed, it's not only public office holders, private entities. If he smells corruption in your affairs, he should be able to move in and investigate and make a case if he finds the evidence. So, like he said, it's a monster that we have created. But it appears after creating the monster, we've discovered that because it's a monster, we are afraid to resource it. Otherwise, why would such an office not even have a permanent place of operation as we speak?
So this would have been a classic case for the special prosecutor
and
to
not
handle.
this case alone. A lot other things are happening that it should be able to have the manpower to do things.
But not to interject, but that they have an office that has been allocated to them.
Yeah.
Just next door to
an office.
Yes.
Yes. But have they moved in?
Well, I'm not aware.
Because at the committee level, we were told that the structure has structural problems.
Yeah.
And yet we've allocated it.
But what
I speak of the laxity with which we are allowing the office to operate.
But beyond the Office of the Special Prosecutor, what do you make of government officials, parliamentarians, people who are supposed to be guarding our very livelihood?
Yes.
Being accused of being bought.
Yes. Now it's an allegation.
Yes.
And I read his statement.
Yeah.
And I knew that maybe a lawyer has done his job.
Why?
Because you see, like he said, he spoke about his role in the transaction and left an aspect out. He didn't touch on that. But it is that aspect that's creating problems for him.
The payments of bribes.
Yes. And he says that a local company was contracted to handle it. So did it happen or did it not? All right? And he's denying. The people are speaking of 4.5 million. Yeah. You are talking of 2.4 million.
And there were emails about going back and forth over 5 million versus 3 million
difference.
Yeah.
They didn't touch on it at all.
Well, he was paid 2 million, but he said that was his commission for raising the money.
No, he said that that kind of money, you know, the SEC mentions 4.5 million.
Yes.
And he is speaking of a sum that is far lower than that.
Yes. Well, the 4.5 million,
yes,
they said included the briberies paid. Right, so I can refer to the document where they when they talked about the numbers specifically. To the intermediary company.
I am making the point.
Okay.
That why wouldn't you speak about the difference?
Okay.
And leave that hanging in the minds of the people because you want to address the issue. So I don't think that you go to court and testify in respect of what you receive and leave the other one, because in raising international financing. We've done some work in that area before. All these other details would have come out before the bank would have released the funds. And you are taking a fee. So in doing that kind of restructuring, he would have done some due diligence himself. He as the restructuring officer who is raising the international financing, he would have done some local due diligence. So you shouldn't say that to us.
So he's even responsible for the actions of the intermediary company? Is that what you're saying?
He's supposed to know.
Okay.
What exactly, whether they were capable of getting the job.
Okay. And all these are allegations.
Exactly. Yeah. So
there were email exchanges that he was kept in contact.
Yes.
So he was very much aware.
So it shouldn't
of the existence of the company and payments that were made.
It shouldn't deny an aspect of the transaction.
Okay.
And leave the rest hanging. Now, I see that government is now hesitant. They don't even want to talk about the matter.
How so?
Look, you appoint somebody who resigns because of this, and the president doesn't make any referral. Like, I agree that we should investigate the matter.
Okay. Do we need the president's referral to investigate? Like you rightly said, the special prosecutor could have just gone in to investigate.
But you need to relate the president.
He set the precedent. All right? Okay. By referring the matter, the Airbus one.
Yes, but you just said the special prosecutor can just go in and investigate.
Yes, but he didn't move.
Okay.
I made the point, but he ought not to have taken the president for him to have acted on the matter.
And the Airbus was a court judgment. These are allegations by SEC.
Why? This is also going to court.
Yes, but it hasn't. It's an allegation at this point.
You can't say that. These are matters that are before court.
Okay.
Now they are filed. So
they are the same.
They're the same. Just that there's the decision in the matter is not yet. The matter is not gone into yet. So there's no decision. But in the other one,
but isn't that a big difference?
No.
What you just mentioned?
No. Not. Okay. It's the same allegation.
And you agree?
It's the same allegation because you see,
no, it's not.
It is in the work that they have done.
Okay.
They keep mentioning government official 1, government official 2, intermediate. They use the same terminologies, and based on the same terminologies in the first case, you were able to make a referral.
But that was a judgment.
But it's a ruling,
yes,
and it's an administrative hearing.
Yes,
and they employ the same nomenclature. You took action. Now, SEC your company has employed some private investigators. They have done their internal investigations, and they think that they have a course of action against Beku. So they are proceeded to court. Once they proceeded to court, the allegations, even though they are unproven, the other allegations, were they proven? The company said there was an attempt, but because they realized that it was for payments that won't benefit them, they rescinded from the transaction. We didn't lose money.
Which one is that?
Which one are you
the first one.
Which was the first one? The Airbus.
The Airbus one.
Okay, I will allow you to respond.
If you like, go back and read. You understand?
Please,
go back.
Please. This isn't an Airbus discussion.
Exactly, but
the Airbus was just a reference.
He says that they are related.
Let's focus on this issue.
No, he says that they are related. So let me zero
parliamentarians, some government officials,
on that.
And the TOMD resigning.
So I am saying that his resignation shouldn't end it.
Okay, we should do a local investigation.
Exactly.
Okay.
And he should also be investigated locally.
Okay.
2, he has denied paying bribes to parliamentarians. All right? And like Ejapa said, I did a calculation. $66,000 by $275. That's $240.
Is that what?
And I don't think I can sell my.
All parliamentarians will get a piece.
But it didn't come
They didn't say that, but that's a very wide assumption to make, right?
When you anchoring this program, you just mentioned parliamentarians. You didn't say Japan and Roxy, you were not part of the 6th Parliament. So you were out.
Well, I was referencing the accusation.
Yes, it's the referral to the institution. It's the institutional humiliation that we face as members. That's what bothers us.
Okay.
You know, and I don't think 275 of us will take $240 to do anything. In any case, we don't take bribe.
But it's a stretch to say all parliamentarians.
But it didn't come out. He even suggested that even if it were limited to the committee members.
Okay.
All those details are not coming out. We are only being told that MPs were given 66,000.
Okay, please wrap up for us.
All right. So it's a bother.
Okay.
So I agree that even as parliamentarians, we should go into this matter.
Okay.
It's very, very important.
Thank you very much.
And I have a problem with the Westerners when they are conducting investigations into these matters and they use euphemisms. Government official 1, intermediary this. Mention names and let us know the participants.
Okay.
It's a bother.
All right. Thank you very much, Honorable Roxanne Nelson Defiamekpo. He's the MP of South Dai, and of course, Honorable Andrew Mesa is the MP of Second D. Up next, we'll be listening to the Information Ministry on the updates on coronavirus cases, the positive cases, what we are doing as far as the lockdown is concerned. So don't go anywhere. We will be right back.
If you can get all the understanding on some of the difficult subjects you struggle with in school. As a student, do you feel dissatisfied with how hard it is to figure out the subjects you're learning? Or as a parent or guardian, do you worry that your child is struggling to understand some of the subjects in school? Well, now you don't need to sign up for extra lessons or tutors. Simply tune in to Class Act, Mondays to Thursdays at 5:30 p.m. on Citi TV. Class Act is a show that seeks to enable senior high school students gain a much better understanding of what they learn in school. All you need is a TV, a chair, your notebook, and your pen. Get clarity on subjects such as maths, English, IT, and science. Class Act airs every Monday to Thursday at 5:30 p.m. on Citi TV on DSTV channel 363 and GoTV channel 182. Don't forget your pens, pencils, and your notebooks and tune in to Class Act, only on Citi TV.
There are those with untold stories, unraveled feats, life-changing stories, and lasting legacies. They tell their stories themselves right here on Footprints.
So we go to someone we were put in our various cells, and then someone you have it's a huge prison, and then it was then that it dawned on me that I was really in big trouble.
Do you think that the overthrow of Liman was justified?
I think that with hindsight, there was no justification.
Be inspired by their hard work and resilience that led to those outstanding achievements as we trace their footsteps through the capsule of time.
Because of my upbringing, my mother, my father, they are, Christianity.
Yeah.
So because of that,
strong hands at home.
Even though I'm the guy smoking, doing all kinds of that, I've never tried.
You've never tried?
No, never tried weed or anything.
You've never tried weed?
Even drinking, alcohol, no.
Why should you people put everything, Kwame. Everything was done before Nkrumah arrived in the country.
No, aho ni leba ye.
Aho leba ye.
So join me, Samuel Atamensa, and my guests every Saturday at 9 a.m. and Sundays at 4 p.m. only on Citi TV.
Footprint is sponsored by Bethel Logistics Company Limited, experts in shipping logistics.
'cause everything I you, everything I do, now you. Even when I want to sing, now you. Even when I want to laugh, now you. When I want to dance, now you. When I want to sing, now you. Oh, tinkle, now you. Now you, now you. When I want to live, now you. When I want to sing, now you. Oh, tinkle, now you. Now you, now you. Yeah. Casting crowns, lifting hands, yeah. Bowing hearts is all we've come to do. Yeah. Casting crowns, lifting hands, oh, bowing hearts is all we've come to do.
Welcome back.
right.
It's Breakfast Daily on Citi TV. We're going to be hearing from the Information Ministry.
Yes. The Minister of Information is going to give us updates as to what they're doing at the moment with the fight against COVID-19. So let's take a look at that.
Donated PPEs over 700,000 to the Ministry of Health in an attempt to help combat the pandemic. Again, we are putting out over 2,000 volunteers into the communities, especially the rural areas, to be able to help the campaign. What we are doing with this is we are going down to the very remotest part of our country with megaphones that can record messages and be played in the communities. We think that the young people are most hit at this time, and as a matter of fact, we are not limiting our campaign to the cities, but we are in touch with the Ministry of Information for approved message that should go to the young people of our country. And we are putting out 500 megaphones that will be used by these volunteers. And also, the volunteers are ready to support in the isolation centers that are earmarked for the country. We also are undertaking a baseline study to know how this pandemic is affecting the young people of our country, i.e. job losses, health issues, and many other things that the young people are facing. So the baseline studies are ongoing through our social media handles and our website, so that we can be able to identify those who will be hard hit most in these trying times. And of course, to make informed position on the matter of young people to government for redress. Honorable Minister, we are happy to report that the feedback from communities from our regions and the district is quite impressive. We want to thank the President and the government of Ghana for the support they've given the young people so far. Therefore, we are also prepared that after training the 2,000 young people, we also put together a plan that after COVID-19, skills training and many other things will be put before the young people of our country. We thank you this morning for the opportunity. We want to urge the young people to continue to adhere to the protocol put out there, so that we all help to combat this. Those who went to the beach largely are young people, and those who are flouting these regulations or lockdown, partial lockdown, are mostly young people. And we'll continue to urge them to adhere strictly to the protocol put out there and the partial lockdown that is currently being enjoyed. Thank you very much for the opportunity. I'm grateful. So if not use my sanitizer, please. Come back. We're also teaching people at home, so please do that. So that's the executive of the National Youth Authority. We thank you, your board, management, and the organization for what you are doing to push public education out there some more. As I mentioned shortly, the minister responsible for energy will outline us what the president's intervention or the government's intervention on energy or electricity mean to you at home. Before he does that, however, I want to get one donation out of the way. It's from Lanti Soy Milk Company Limited. They are 20,000 Ghana cedis. They make specific request that their PPE should be given to the Ghana Ambulance Service following their request at our last press briefing, and that their food products should also be made available to the Social Protection Ministry to assist them as they go about their distribution.
Very quickly, let me call on Honorable Deputy Minister for Information, Honorable Pius Enam Hajide. Please join me here. And the representative of Lanti Soy Milk Company, you can join him here. And very quickly, let's do that presentation. And then the Energy Minister will join us as we talk about electricity. We are done. Ghana has so far done 50,719 tests as at last night. And I'll give you a breakdown of the details of that. Some social distancing, please. So, Lanti Soy Milk Company Limited, you are making available peas and Lanti products worth 120,000 Ghana cedis. You want your PPEs to go to the Ghana Ambulance Service, and the food items that you are making available to go to the Social Protection Ministry to assist us in this cause. We want a big thank you to Lanti for your contribution. Honorable Deputy Minister, I'm sure you can do the bow as you symbolically receive it from them. We are very grateful. This is a 1D1F factory, I'm told. It's the 1D1F factory. Well, so we are very grateful for your contribution. Thank you very much. You may please. Do we have items here to make available? Just one is fine, yes. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Lanti, for your contribution. You may please resume your seats. Ladies and gentlemen, you recall that His Excellency the President mentioned that electricity was to be provided for free for lifeline consumers and at a discount for persons in other categories. What does this mean? When does it take effect? How do you access it? Minister for Energy, John Peter Amewu, please join us up here with the details.
Thank you, Minister, for information. My very good friend for you. The Deputy Minister of Energy, the chief executives of the various utility companies here present, directors of the ministry, my good friend Sly, chief executive of the UFNC, the media, ladies and gentlemen, you recollect that His Excellency the President, Nana Adudankwa Akufo-Addo, the President of the Republic of Ghana, announced an electricity relief package for consumers for the period of April, May, June 2020 to cushion the Ghanaian people against hardships arising from the restrictions of the COVID-19 pandemic. Ladies and gentlemen, by that directive, government would absorb the electricity bills of all lifeline customers and 50% of the bills of residential, commercial, and industrial customers. This applies to all customers of the Electricity Company of Ghana, the Volta River Authority, also the Northern Electricity Distribution Company, NEDCO. So the directive applies across all these three agencies. In Ghana, ladies and gentlemen, the consumption of between 0 to 50 kilowatt hour is defined by the Public Utility Regulatory Commission as lifeline consumption, which is subsidized to ensure access use of electricity by low-income customers. A lifeline customer in Ghana, for instance, can use one TV set, 2 lighting bulbs points, a tabletop fridge, and a fan for a limited number of hours. So a consumer that have this appliances using on daily basis be considered as a lifeline customer. The COVID-19 presidential relief will positively affect customers differently depending on their customer classification or consumption levels. The ECG lifeline customer population in Ghana, currently it's about 1 million Ghanaian. By the customer population, we are talking about the number of meters, but not the population of people. So we're talking about 1 million meters. In some households, we can have between 10 to 5 people using 1 meter. So you can average the number of people that we're talking about. The access rate today in Ghana is about 86-87%, which means about 86 to 87% of the Ghanaian population have access to the national grid. So directive by His Excellency the President means that about 5 to 86% of Ghanaians would enjoy this access. The customer population of 1 million of ECG is about 27.4% of the ECG total customer population. This means that at a current tariff level, government is absorbing almost an amount of 8.5 million gas cedis per month. For non-lifeline customers, of which 2,780,886 are residential and 1,608 are special load tariff customers, a 50% discount on their electricity bill will translate to 235.4 million Ghana cedis per month. The total relief for ECG customers per month based on the estimated revenue is therefore 244 million Ghana cedis, translating into 732 million Ghana cedis for the 3 months commencing from April, May, and June. NEDCO, a total government relief for all customers is about 47 million Ghana cedis per month, or 141 million Ghana cedis for the 3 month period. This comprises relief of about 10.9 million Ghana cedis per month, or 32.9 million Ghana cedis for 3 months, for a customer population of 569,000 live customers. A percentage representing 60.67% of the total network customers, and 36 million per month, or 108 million for 3 months, for 369,000 non-live customers. Ladies and gentlemen, for VRA, the total government relief is equivalent to 55.5 million Ghana cedis per month, or a total of 166.4 million for 3 months. This comprises the relief of VRA comprises the following. 1, 12 mining customers at 42.4 million per month, or a total of 127.2 million for the 3 months. 2, value 4.8 million per month, or a total of 14.4 million for the 3 months. And 3, other manufacturing customers such as Aluex, Diamond Cement Limited, Savannah Cement Limited, Enclave Power Limited, of which 7.9 million Ghana cedis per month, or a total of 3.7 million for the 3 months. Ladies and gentlemen, overall, the government is providing a cumulative relief of an amount equivalent to about 1 billion Ghana cedis approximately covering a customer population of about 4.8 million meters across Ghana for the 3-month period commencing April, May, and June 2020. Thank you.
Honorable Minister, thank you for your presentation. Minister, you also didn't use my hand sanitizer. We're encouraging people at home to wash their hands and to use hand sanitizers, and we'll also be disinfecting our podium here every now and then. Minister, thank you. So about 4.8 million meters, about 4.8 millimeters. As we get into some more detail, there's a rule of thumb about average how many people use each meter. So we can extrapolate and even find out how many people, individuals, are expected to benefit from that. And we'll take some more questions shortly. So that is a quick brief on what the President's intervention energy means for us. We'll take your questions on that shortly. You can make a note of them. We'll take them shortly. You will notice as well that today we are not doing translation to other local languages because, as we announced, working with the Bureau of Ghana Languages, the entire event is being translated into 8 other local languages for later playback across media networks. Honorable Minister, I'll ask you to help me out. Blue Band is here. I do understand Blue Band has a presentation for the COVID-19 Relief Fund. So I'll crave your indulgence just before we move along to join me. Adults Brands Ghana Limited, they have Blue Band products to support low-income families. They are sending that to the Ministry of Social Protection. If you may please step forward, the Honorable Minister will receive that on behalf. Are you making a presentation or this is just a symbolic one? Please, if we have products, let's make them very quick so that we can move along. And while we wait for that, let me give you some quick statistics on testing. You would recall that His Excellency the President mentioned that the imposition of restrictions in Greater Accra and Greater Kumasi was to allow for something to happen. It wasn't an imposition of restrictions or what they call a lockdown for lockdown's sake. It was to allow for something significant to happen. That significant thing is what we call the enhanced tracing and testing program. We had a target, a primary target of close to about 10,000 persons that we sought to test. As at last night, as at the latest figures updated by the Ghana Health Service, Ghana's case count, as I'm sure you have on the website, is 641 positive cases. It comes out of 50,719 tests that have been conducted so far. That is almost 5 times, or about 5 times, the target of tests that we set for ourselves to literally lock down and conduct, to give us an indication of what to do next. So just a quick update this morning. As of last night, 50,719 tests had been done. The data I want to give you is about the rate that are being discovered in the tests. The tests have been in 3 categories. There is the normal surveillance test, which is what ordinarily we would have found if we were still using old method. Under the normal surveillance test, 30,838 people have been tested under the normal surveillance test. People who suspected they had symptoms, etc., and got in touch with 112 and the phone platforms or went to their clinicians tested. 13,838. 268 of them tested positive. That is a rate of 1.9%. So 1.9% of people who suspect they are having symptoms tested positive. Then there is the mandatory quarantine, where the state decided that we will mandatorily quarantine people, test them, once they were entering the jurisdiction at a time that our borders were being closed. It was in 2 parts, airport and Tamale. So the Accra airport and Tamale. At the Accra airport, we ended up running a total of 2,011 tests. 2,011 tests. 105 of them tested positive. In the end, that's a rate of 5.28% tested positive. In Tamale, we ran 11 tests. 10 were positive. That was 91% of that. Then we had the 3rd level of the enhanced contact tracing and testing. That is where now the public health nurses, immigration, epidemiologists are going out into the communities or the hotspots and are chasing or going or seeking to go ahead of the virus to find it and not wait for it to manifest. We have done a total of 34,859 tests in that enhanced contact tracing and testing category. 258 of them were positive. That is 0.7%. So we put it together, as at last night, we had done 50,719 tests, and 1.3% of people we have tested are positive. So it begins to give you a sense that this entire, what you call lockdown that has been done, for the major objective of literally trying to get ahead and find out how much of the virus we have in the system and deal with it, we are finding out, as at the data from last night, that just about 1.3% of the risk populations that we have tested are the ones that have tested positive. It begins to give you an idea of the level of challenge we have in the system. As I have mentioned, it is elements like this that would inform the president's decision of what should happen next. But in the full interest of transparency, as we provide a lot more information, I've been instructed to make this information available to you currently. We're also informed from data platforms that 83 persons have recovered currently, and there are some 17 more that they intend now to also conduct a second test for, and hopefully to this category. So that's just by way of information. Can we please take the presentation from Upfields Brands Ghana Limited so that the Honorable Minister of Energy will receive it for us, and then we will deal with the subject of stigmatization. Upfields Brands Ghana Limited, it's our understanding that you are making available Blue Band products to support low-income families. These products will be made available to the Ministry of Social Protection so that they include it in the food items that they are making available. On behalf of the government of Ghana and the people of Ghana, we are very grateful to you for your contribution to national cause. Thank you very much. Honorable Minister, thank you so much. Thank you so much. Honorable Minister, may I ask you please stay with me? I do understand that Betway Ghana Limited has a check of 150,000 Ghana cedis that they also want to make available. I'm going to get that out of the way, and then we'll deal with stigmatization. Betway Ghana Limited has for us a check of 150,000 Ghana cedis. We are very grateful to you for your contribution. Have you put the money in the account already, or you are now coming to put it? Put it in the account already. We are very grateful. We are very grateful. Honorable Minister, thank you so much. Gentlemen, thank you for that presentation. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, stigma, as we mentioned in our last briefing, has become one of the challenges we very quickly need to combat. If I may repeat, it is because if the levels of stigma associated with COVID-19 continue, we fear that people go underground. People who have conditions who need to step forward so that we can diagnose them and treat them, they may go underground. People may not disclose their conditions as they ought to. Communities will continue rejecting offers by well-intended people to make available isolation or potential treatment centers. And so it is important that we build some knowledge about why we need to avoid stigma. This disease is not a death sentence. Fortunately, we have had 8 persons who had underlying health conditions who have passed on, but it's a death sentence. People can be assisted with treatment and can recover. Later this morning, we'll invite one gentleman who contracted or who tested positive, who was given supportive treatment by the clinicians here in Ghana, who has tested twice and is negative now, has recovered, has been declared recovered. and has been returned home. He's joining us here this morning to speak to us about why we ought not to stigmatize people like him, and we have to give them and all others support, and also make available our facilities and our communities. I would invite him up shortly, but it is my understanding that as part of efforts to make more centers available for treatment, a number of organizations and individuals are offering their facilities, some of which have unfortunately been rejected by local communities. But the state is beginning to assist those who are offering to engage with the local communities, deepen understanding, so that we can utilize some of those facilities should it become necessary. It is my understanding that the Ghana Football Association has made a facility available. Initially there were challenges, and those challenges have now been resolved. GFA President Kurt, yes, Kurt is here. Kurt, give me just a moment for us to have our podium sanitizer, and then please join us with a quick explanation of what the GFA has offered and how far we've succeeded in coming with dealing with the local community, make it available, as we start with the stigma conversation.
Good morning. So following the passionate appeal by the President of the land, His Excellency Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, asking all Ghanaians to join the fight against our biggest enemy, the Ghana Football Association, led by the Executive Council, thought that regardless of the fact that we've been going through our own, what we call COVID-18, in the period leading to normalization beyond, we will not sit down aloof, for which reason we decided that we have a special facility in Pram that can house up to 250 people. It is strategically placed. We decided to offer this facility to the use of government as one of the isolation centers to treat our people, our colleagues, our brothers and sisters who live in Pram and its environs. Now, following that single decision, we decided, together with the support of the Ministry of Health, the government officials, to engage the chief, the elders, and the youth of Pram and its environs. In the last few days, we've gone through that process successfully, and we can confidently say that the facility is ready to be used by the government free of charge to ensure that our brothers and sisters in Pram and environs are well taken care of. Together, we'll win this battle, and together, we'll bring our football back. Thank you very much.
Kurt, we are grateful to the Ghana Football Association for what you are doing to make this facility available as a potential isolation and treatment center. It is important for communities to understand and accept such offers because it does a number of things. It protects even the local community, because if somebody is positive, that person can be isolated from the community to prevent potential communal spread, and can be assisted with supportive treatment in that facility. It is my understanding that the state security apparatus and other ministries working with the Ghana Football Association are now taking custody of this facility so that in the shortest possible time it can be added to the list of facilities that are being used. So after engagement with traditional and other leaders in that community. So Kurt, we are very grateful for the leadership and the support of the Ghana Football Association. I'm still dealing with the subject of stigma and the need to improve communal support. I want to invite Mr. Fred Dra. Fred is a Ghanaian like your son and myself. He will tell us briefly a bit about himself. Fred contracted the virus or tested positive. Fred, come up. Contracted or tested positive, went through treatment, supportive treatment, first negative test, second negative test, has now been declared recovered and is back home with his family. As we deal with the subject of stigma, briefly, he will speak to us and make a call out to the country. We also speak about why it is important for you to stay at home so that you don't end up having to go through the path that he went through before recovery. Fred.
Hi. Please, let me use the one that the doctors gave you. Okay. Thank you very much. My name is Frederick Kwekudra. I'm married, 4 children, 2 boys, 1 girl. In terms of workplace, kindly forgive me, I will disclose it to the minister for certain reasons. Because I've done so many interviews and the outcome is very big. So please forgive me for that aspect. Yes, I was tested positive on the 17th March. That was one Tuesday, 12:15 a.m. to get to Wednesday. I was just lying on bed and I realized that I was feeling feverish. And I was finding that my throat was drying within the shortest time. So I called my wife. She gave me some paracetamol, 2 tablets of paracetamol. I took it within the shortest time. I realized I was feeling warm, and through that got so good, I was to sleep again. The following day, I decided to go to the hospital. I visited Tama Polyclinic. The malaria test, BP, sugar, and about 4 tests, but they realized that I was all negative. But they took my temperature. They realized that my temperature was above the normal temperature that every woman is supposed to have. So they started some sort of suspicion. Still, I was not clear in mind. So they just called me to an isolated place and they asked me to sit over there. I sat there for about 45 minutes. No one was attending to me. So I became furious and I started shouting, "Why do I walk to your own facility to treat me, check on me, and later on just come and dump me over there for some long period?" I started shouting, and one nurse just approached me and said, "Gentlemen, just have patience. Have patience. Someone will attend to you." So I was there when I saw one gentleman putting on the PPE and attending to me. He came and he asked me to open my mouth. I opened my mouth and he put a small. I know my status, so I'm just being very careful. Yes, if you've been there, you know what I'm trying to tell you. Yes, I went there and by God's grace I'm back. So I'm very careful about the instructions the doctors give me. Anything that I touch, I'm very careful. So this gentleman came in and took in that swab, and later on, I drove myself and I went to the house. The following day, Thursday, I was there and I received a strange call. "Please, are you Mr. Rudra?" I said, "Yes." "You visited the hospital this day?" I said, "Yes, I visited the hospital." The gentleman there said, "Yes, they took your sample and lo and behold, they found out that you are COVID-19 positive, or coronavirus positive." In fact, it wasn't easy for me. I was trying to control myself. The doctor called me, the one who called me, and encouraged me that I should just disassociate myself from my family. Let me stay at one place and let me let my wife just attend to me. The rest of the children just go far. I was able to obey him, and since then the children were suspicious, but all the same, my wife was strongly behind me. She helped me, and the gentleman said they will ask for ambulance to come and pick me. I was so eager that the ambulance should come so that I can leave early. That fateful Thursday, the ambulance was not there. Tuesday, Friday, the ambulance was not there. Then Saturday, which was 21st, around 4:35 o'clock p.m., the ambulance came. That is the place where I saw myself dying. I really saw myself dying simply because of the information out there. I also know that, oh, the moment you are being attacked by this virus, within 2-3 days, you are dead and gone. I saw my wife and my children crying seriously. I've never sat in an ambulance before, but that day I sat in an ambulance, and the only thing that I could tell my wife is that I just waved her. It was a very terrible moment for me in life that particular day. But thank God, the gentleman, the doctor told me that at times even makes me feel like maybe I'll go and not come back again. He said, Fred, kindly taste some small dress. If you can taste some small dress, 2 or 3 dresses, and go. So, 2 or 3 dresses, that means maybe I will go, and to me, I will go and not come back again. But God's good, I told them that they can send me to any place that they want, but don't send me to them. I just don't know why I said that. But this ambulance picked me, and I was just in the ambulance. Where the ambulance was going, I didn't even know. I was just in, and this gentleman drew me, and before I realized, I entered to Ghana East District Hospital. A very faithful day. I know there should be distance between myself and the doctors. Me being the first patient to use that facility at Ghana East District Hospital, the doctors were scared of me, the nurses were scared of me, and lo and behold, I said, Fred, this is your room. You just open the room and I pushed into the room. I was asked to enter into the room. I entered into the room. In fact, it was a moment of sadness in my life. But 2 ladies came, 1 lady and a man came and gave me a number. That, Fred, if you need anything, these are the numbers you need to call. So that means they will not get closer to me. They will not get closer to me. In fact, the doctors and the nurses at where I went, I will just say, I will give them 95% because they did very well. Very, very well. The psychologist, very good job. The doctors, very good job. In fact, the type of food that I eat over there, I will just say maybe I don't eat one in my house. But the food was good. It comes on time in the morning, the food comes on time. In the afternoon, it comes on time. In the evening, it comes on time. The doctors over there was very, very good, and they were able to help me to go through. Yes, I was discharged Sunday. I came home on Sunday. The doctors and the psychologists let me know that I should stay indoors. But after certain interviews that I did, my wife will go to town. The moment she comes in, she will just be crying. So she will not even grant any interview again. She will just be crying. Why are you crying? When I went there, if the thing is there, they will say it is not there. I can remember I was going to barber my hair. I don't go out. One day I want to go and just barber my hair. I went there, and someone just saw me. He just said, that's it. But the point is that at times I feel bad because I know my status. You don't know your status. That's what I want to get closer to. Yeah. I know my status that I'm tested negative. 2. What about you? But you are rather scared of me. The stigma over there, my children, thank God they are strong behind me. They go to town. Some of them don't want to put them. But there are some other colleagues, friends who also try and call, encourage me that I should go ahead. I have a question over here that I want to answer in my own dialect and about 3 dialects. COVID-19, let me tell you, that is real. COVID-19, coronavirus, it is real. I'm telling everyone here that this virus, it is real. So please, and please, try and obey the lockdown, washing of hands, social distance, all other that they be saying in the media and so on. Let us try and obey. I don't think every normal human being can be drinking water within the shortest time like that. Within the shortest time that I take water, my throat is dried. So I have to be continuing taking water, COVID-19 is real. Now, when someone is being tested positive, brethren, I thought that when I go, maybe 3rd day I'll die. But when I went there, I realized that it's not like that. I went and I'm back. People also go and they'll be back. So when you are tested positive, please, just go to the health centers so that they can take good care of you. They will send you wherever you're supposed to go, then you come back. Meanwhile, COVID-19 and coronavirus and nukre toro. This will be a gym to say nukre. If you say baby ubafa nyano, you not know. Me jitu say be a Korea for be but me can't see it with my naked eye to say that it was from this man, it was this man. So it can happen to anybody. A bit to be also. And we are at that Jordan by the Seregi, Bonu Kumata Boyebede. Me do to government upon who for Bemino Homa, never go to Igava one anako, no Homa. Opla si, Obona Uncan, I use sanitizer, I go to a Sinchi. And no Hadomio, no winema, and no Skeba COVID Siamava. Kakane baby a set to buy your man that government, like Masagoa, Kahama, Untoy, no at Bakla Kudomi, Kakaya Hoadam. Me really come of your name, COVID-19, Lelani. What TV me not maybe still a year COVID-19. I look at virus here. Look a year. A moment billion here. You know drumo imba. Women can you flashing? You bomo jine. Can you national win way? No trashing more. Boyo jine. Me bien to the Germans of the government. Tashia. Nika sebi no koye matime no if you only be. Kaya no ya passing COVID-19 a year. In communities, womeni yo akucho bibi emie nkanyashi kanye na mukundaka ofo na nyekala wie ejuashi ka okelemo ewie ni o encourage your more banye femini ekeheba ukpa ne bagbe chika bo wie no dash onunoro ngoda obaya no ba kani bi moko eteba fat on fi ne kele mo banshi nyame o le mi papa do mi mara kuku do na mi jo alade mi hana mi hena mbe mi anami ajidepo nya mi hebe mi agbonya tiwa atanaba mi o ha mi atapidoma kakra mi nami jidepo nya wa no binyo every year come a global. I wish in my community some are good, but in my community I have to go back again to where I came from, the district hospital, simply because of certain things that is going on. Some are good to me, but others too, when my children go out there, the way they do their things, in fact, is serious. So please and please, hush. Do not be tested positive, then you go and die. You be tested positive, you to the place. The doctors are good, the psychologists are good, all of them are good. The government is doing well. When I read of the statistics that is going on, oh, God richly bless you and bless you, the government, for what the good job they are doing. God bless you all. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Fred, for, I'm tempted to say testimony, but for your sharing your story with us. Throughout, one of the things we've tried to do is also to get people who have tested positive, help us demystify it. Fred is one of the few who is willing to step forward and speak up. So Fred, we are very grateful. And he makes the point that it is real. He went through a tough time, but luckily, because he stepped forward, he got help, and today he's part of the 83 who have recovered because they tested negative after their supportive treatment. And he's also done the local translations for us. We're going to wrap it up here and take your questions on all of the matters that we've discussed. Before we do, let me sincerely apologize. We were billed to have the minister responsible for it with us this morning. He's unfortunately unable to join us, but we'll do well to have him at a later date to speak to local production of PPEs. So we'll take your questions now. Please step forward. We'll take them in batches of 2, and then we'll do best to respond to them. Energy Minister is here with me, so are other colleagues who will help us to respond to your questions.
Joseph Akable, I work with Joy News. I have a number of things. The first one on the package, the energy package, I want to find out when specifically it takes off across the country and how prepaid meter users stand to benefit. We have already received calls from persons who have made purchases since the directive was announced, and they say that they've not observed anything different from what they are used to. And I'm asking because he said it's for the month of April, May, and June. The second question is what happens to persons who may have been taken off the power grid because of their indebtedness to either ECG or NEDCO prior to the directive being announced.
Persons who have already been disconnected because they owe light bills.
They owe light bills, yes. And what's the plan to minimize the impact on an already debt-distressed energy sector? Over the months prior to the pandemic, we had heard from Gridco, the IPPs, and others complaining about financial challenges. And this one goes to you on the testing updates that you gave. What is our current testing capacity in terms of number of kits we have readily available? Elsewhere, they are able to estimate number of tests they can carry out in a day, if we have a figure for that as well. And finally, what are the guidelines and follow-up system for persons like Fred who have recovered fully from the virus? Thank you.
Yes, sir.
So there you have it. We've heard from the Information Minister. We've also heard from the Energy Minister, as well as a negative case, a Ghanaian, a human being first before he's a coronavirus survivor. And what stood out to me from Fred's testimony is the fact that he at least knows his status, right? So he can at least tell that I've been positive, I've gone through all the right channels, and I am now negative. There's absolutely no reason why people should treat him any less than because of his status. And he also makes the whole process a bit more humane for all of us. Like, you go to the hospital, they feed you well, they give you all the psychological help that you need to get through this period. And if you if you comply, you will come out a whole. But I think it takes a lot of courage, it takes a lot of strength to be able to share such a story in a country where people are still stigmatizing those who have come out and are negative. We don't need that. At this moment is when we should all reach out to somebody, be a bit more empathetic. You don't want them to feel ashamed of something that they had no control over. It could happen to any one of us. And the reality is, some of us may be asymptomatic and we don't know. So actually knowing your status has more power than walking around with an illusion that you don't have coronavirus. So you want to protect yourself against someone who's actually negative. It makes no sense. I think the entire country should clap for Mr. Fred. It takes a lot of courage to be vulnerable enough to share your story. Now, we're now going to hear from the people there, the journalists there, their questions. So we'll cross over and continue with the Information Ministry.
In social media that some communities are against certain areas designated as isolation centers. For example, in the central region around Asinfo, where school students there block roads. What are we doing about such instances?
Okay. Honorable Minister, please join me and let's deal with the first set of questions. When does it kick in? How do prepaid users benefit?
Thank you, colleague Minister. I want to answer some of the questions, but the chief executives are here also to assist. The directive by His Excellency, if you recollect, was announced on the 9th of April, and the directive was to be implemented. So the implementation process began. But the April customers, if you collect, it's for 3 months, April, May, and June. By the 9th of April, some people have already purchased, especially the prepaid customers, have already purchased their prepaid. And some people have already bought their postpaid. So The April benefits will be derived in May, the May benefit in June, and the June benefit will be in July. So that is how. If you already bought a credit in April, you will see it reflecting. But when you move to May, it will reflect in May. Again, don't forget, the baseline for the directive from His Excellency Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo was to use the March bill. So it's March. So all the Lifeline customers, we're going to use that March bill. The postpaid, we're going to use the March bill. But if on the 9th of April, you are disconnected, you are not enjoying the national grid at the time the announcement is made, and even as I speak, you are not, then automatically there is no way you are benefiting. But if for some reason your disconnection was because you haven't paid your bill and you have made an attempt to pay that bill today, then of course you will be entitled to the benefit. The benefit is for all Ghanaians. Those that are disconnected will not enjoy until they have been connected or brought back to the national grid.
On the debt distress sector, what is the impact of this on the sector that is thought to be debt distressed?
Well, it's a very good question. The utilities are already suffering, but in the midst of these difficulties for utilities, the human life is very key. His Excellency, the President, if you did recollect, clearly states that as for the economy, we can bring economy back to life. But for human life, once it's lost, it's difficult to bring it back. So His Excellency understands clearly in his own mind the difficulties of the utility. But we hope, as a responsible government, where we have brought the economy to, after the passage of this COVID-19, we will be able to bring the utilities back to life. Thank you.
There's a little trick. Either you don't touch the podium, or when you finish, you use the sanitizer. There's a question about what happens to persons who are recovered and are discharged, like Fred. So the doctors keep following up on him to keep checking to be sure that he continues to demonstrate the signs of recovery, and that the signs of affection are no longer present in him. And at some point, he will do, or they will either visit up on him, or he will do a visit at some point. There is a question about the blood service, impact of all of what's going on the blood service and the role of the blood service in this. We will take it, and when the Ghana Health Service officials join us, they can help us respond specifically to that one. Funerals across the country, private funerals across the country, apart from Greater Accra and Greater Kumasi, that have what you call the lockdown. Private funerals across the country fit into the earlier executive instrument, where they happen with not more than 25 persons. But in Greater Kumasi, because of the lockdown, that does not apply until that lockdown is mended or lifted, etc. There is a report about a mobile morgue at the Elwak Stadium. The info I have is that entire level 2 hospital is a level 2 hospital that has been built by the military at the Elwak Stadium. It comes along with a morgue as part of that hospital. So it is to be used as part of that level 2 emergency hospital that has been put there. Medical services are still supposed to be available across the country, except when they are not critical or not emergency medical services. That means that persons with other conditions, HIV, etc., who require medication and support from medical practitioners, they are supposed to be given access to their hospitals and medical practitioners, because hospitals and health facilities are open in general. We only advise that if it is not a critical matter, then you may want to defer. But what you've mentioned fits within that category. Now, for the communities that, because of limited levels of engagement between the persons who had to make facilities available and the communities. Some of the communities rejected initially the offer to have isolation centers or treatment centers put there. The state assisting those who sought to offer some of these facilities to engage the local community, traditional rulers, influential persons, etc., so that we can get deeper cooperation and education. And this morning, I think we've demonstrated what has happened with the GFA one that was initially objected to, which is now, our understanding is that now the process has been smoothened through, and we'll continue to engage with other similar communities. Okay, next batch of questions. There are a couple that we haven't responded to, but I'll take a next batch when we come to it. So please step forward. I do understand that the LPG Marketing Companies Association of Ghana also have a check of 60,000 cedis that they want to make available to us. LPG, they are in your space. Mr. So you help me, you receive for me. Yes, sir. Please step up to the microphone. But it's the same squad. Are there any others? Okay, so I'll take the questions from the platform and then we'll wrap up. Yes, sir.
All right, so once you mentioned LPG, let me bring that question because the MPA has...
It's like you have the questions in your pocket.
The MPA has come up with some increment, which has actually resulted in a suit against it on LPG. So we want to know, right now that government is reducing utility and the rest, is it the plan of government to reduce that and then increase LPG? If the sir can address that for us, we'll be grateful. Quickly. And also workers of specifically Kolebu Teaching Hospital, especially those at the laundry, they have complained that they are the ones in charge of washing the bed sheet, the beddings and the rest. They also move to the wards to remove them, but then they do that without PPs. They are concerned because they are not told who might have used those beddings. They want.
Very well. Yes, sir.
All right, Honorable Minister, my name is Bisimako Pon, broker journalist. Honorable Minister, I would like to ask, what are the gender and age statistics of the recovered dead? Again, what are the specific challenges of the NAMO regarding the distribution of food to the vulnerables? And then the last one, it's a week since the distribution of food and food started. What has been the measurable impact on the vulnerable and the fight on COVID-19? Thank you.
Good morning once again. I have like 4 questions. So my first question will be to you, Honorable Information Minister. What are the protocols in communicating to individuals who have had their samples already taken? And then what is turnaround time for getting back the results after these samples have taken? And I asked a question within this week about the e-learning for the disability. And then Honorable Energy Star, you said 80% of Ghana's population are on the national. What about the rest who are in the villages who are not on the national grid? Are there any plans or packages for them? Honorable Information Minister, what is the current cumulative testing capacity for our facilities per day? Thank you.
Thank you. Let me take the questions from the platform and then we'll wrap up with it. Yeah. Please speak up into the microphone. We can't hear you well. Abandoning what? Those are the 2 questions. Okay, so let me take the ones that are very quickly able to deal with, and then I would invite. Okay, well, come up there.
Yeah, the first question on the LPG. That slight increase in price that you saw in the papers, it has been withdrawn. The policy of the The recirculation model, I think, as you are all aware, was something, a very novel thing introduced by this government. We have not started implementation. So that amount of money which you saw was supposed to be used, to level out the prices. Implementation, there was a bit of error. So it has been withdrawn. And I know the case is in court, but I assure you that it has been withdrawn. It's going back to Cabinet. Cabinet will re-look at it, will examine the bill, and then we'll come to Ghanaians. The other question was on those not on the national grid. Unfortunately, there's little we can do. His Excellency's directive was on those who are enjoying the national grid. So there's nothing we can do. But fortunately, and also the good news, is that there's an aggressive program by the current government to increase access to about 90% by the close of 2024. So we hope by then, larger population of this country will be on the national grid. Thank you.
Honorable Minister, very grateful. There was a question about Fred's wife and kids. They tested negative. Also, he mentioned that because, even though he didn't go into details, he mentioned some other nationalities. Because in his line of work, he deals with some other nationalities. He was traced to persons of other nationalities who had earlier tested positive. Now, the e-learning and call center questions that, Kojo, you asked earlier, I think during our earlier briefing this week. Currently, our 311 call center has not been programmed to deal with persons with hearing impairments. But it has been brought to our attention, and advised the technical team to quickly see how they can deal with that. In terms of e-learning and distance learning, I spoke to the education minister, who informs me that working with the Ghana Education Service, what they are also seeking to do is for those who are visually impaired, potential radio programming to provide them a bit of the contact. And those who have other challenges, Braille versions of the materials that they seek to use may also be made available to them. But they will provide us some more detail. Indeed, he tells me he has a meeting with them this morning. He will provide us with some more details on that one. There was a question about protocols for communication. So currently, we've been able to ramp up to do about 50,000 tests as at last night. Indeed, there are still some samples at the labs that they have to quickly process. The priority is to focus on positive cases and quickly isolate them and treat them within the constraints of time, everything else that they have. So usually it takes a bit longer for negative cases to be told that they are negative. The priority is that focus immediate attention on the positive cases so that we can quickly isolate them and provide them with the treatment. Gender and age statistics for those who are recovering and those who may have passed on. We'll get our Ghana Health Service data team to better nuance that data. You know that based on the statement that we keep having, we continue nuancing the data for our mutual consumption. So we'll engage with them. I think one of the major challenges of the state food distribution effort has been the social distancing challenge, and we have opportunity to speak about it. The ministries of social protection and local government have issued directives on it, and I suspect that you are beginning to observe a certain improvement in yesterday's photos and video monitoring that some of you may have done. That has been one of the major challenges in the distribution of food. In terms of its measurable impact, the idea was to provide some relief or to make more bearable for our colleagues who are vulnerable and homeless to stay at home. Because if you ask him to stay at home and he's hungry, he wants to get out there on the streets and get into some economic activity and then earn a living. So the idea was to make it a bit more bearable. If you juxtapose that with general feedback that we are getting that largely people are complying except for our usual recalcitrant colleagues, you can begin to gauge that it has contributed positively to some extent. Kolebu laundry workers raising PPE questions. Listening to your question clearly, even though you didn't say it, it sounds to me as though the general nurses and doctors themselves now are no longer complaining at Kolebu specific, even though you didn't say so. That's the impression I got. However, it is those in the laundry who are asking questions about whether or not they also be given PPEs. That's the understanding I have of your question. What it says to me is that at least PPEs have been available there. Pay attention to it. Sometimes the challenge is that the PPE get there, but the internal distribution. You recall a few weeks ago we talked about the fact that in one particular hospital, the feedback we got was that the PPEs were available at ICU, but OPD and emergency were not getting it. The feedback we have now is that that has improved. So we are hoping that as we raised this also on this platform and as we engage with Ghana Health Service, they can also make it work some more. We also encourage the managers of health facilities to also educate their staff on the levels of PPE. Like we say, the PPEs, not everybody uses the same PPE at the same time. So for example, those are pre-triage or those who are going to pick samples, the driver in the vehicle or somebody else associated with them may not wear coveralls and boots and mask and gloves and even the glass sort of helmet that they wear. They may not all have that. Maybe the one who is picking the actual swab may wear all of that, while the rest just wear the N95 and the gloves. But we need to educate them some more so that even they themselves have an understanding of it. Same applies to those in the medical facilities. The fact that we are saying that even pre-triage must have some PPE, that doesn't necessarily mean that the person at pre-triage is going to have from boots to coveralls to everything as though they were in a theater. I'm sure you understand my point. So again, we encourage the managers of health facilities to assist us with educating people of the laundry, etc., so that they are also managed in their expectation. I think these are responses to the questions that we have here. Owner Resources Company Limited. Owner Resources Company Limited. I understand that you have brought us, actually, yes, you brought us a check for 20,000 cedis. We acknowledge it. World of Champions Ministries. You've also brought us a check for 10,000 cedis. We acknowledge it. And then the Association of LPG Distributors. I understand you have a donation to make. The Honorable Minister is here. We would want to have him to receive. Please step forward quickly. Honorable Minister, please join us and receive that for us. Chief Director of the Ministry, these checks, so the fund. Ministry Chief Director, checks. Social distancing, please. It's a new term we have to live with. Yes. You have a check of 60,000 Ghana cedis to the COVID-19 Relief Fund. Honorable Minister, you may want to receive the check for us. This is your own industry. A check of 60,000 Ghana cedis. We are very, very grateful for your contribution to this national cause at this point in time. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, gentlemen. You may please resume your seats. Thank you very much, gentlemen. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, we'll have to draw down the curtain on this morning's very quick brief. And if there are any outstanding matters, we'll deal with them subsequently. Thank you.
All right, so that was from the Ministry of Information. We had the minister there coordinating the various updates from the different sectors. And I just want to take us back a little bit to remind us of what the minister, the Chief Executive of National Youth Authority, Mr. Sylvester Mensah-Tete, he gave us an update of the deployment of youth to different sectors in the fight. And so we have 2,000 volunteers are going to be involved in educating people in their communities. They're making available 500 megaphones as well. And the basic idea is to make sure that right to the very last person in this country, they understand fully and clearly what it is that the whole conversation is about, as far as how to take care of yourself is concerned and how to behave under the current new conditions of the current dispensation in which we find ourselves.
Yes, definitely. I will let you continue then.
Yeah. So the energy minister also gave us an idea of the amount of monies that are involved in the aiding the people's, basically consumers of electricity. So he talked about a lifeline consumers. It made reference to the fact that 86% of Ghanaians are going to enjoy free light for the next 3 months. Now, that's a huge number of people and a huge number of households. It's going to cost the government about 85 million Ghana cedis a month. That's a lot, but I think it's important. It's important for us to do this, and where we can find the money from. I think the government needs to do this just to bring some kind of stress relief, because people are not going out to work, people are not engaging in commercial activities. Of course, some people will engage anyway, just by virtue of what's happening in the country. But so the food, those who are providing food and so on, and those who are producing PPEs and all of that. But the majority of people will be hard done by this lockdown, and will not be able to make an income. And so it's important to create some, levels of stress relief in the system for them. And so the Minister for Energy was basically giving us a breakdown. The VRA government relief will be 55.5 million Ghana cedis a month, and then the VALCO's relief will be 4.8 million Ghana cedis a month. And then for manufacturers, there will be a total of 7.9 million Ghana cedis per month for them as relief as well. So all around, I think it's important to realize that government is doing, stage-wise, but very deliberately and very progressively, making steps and taking steps to make sure that everybody is considered and everybody has some kind of relief at this time.
Definitely. And on a macro level, the government will be spending 1 billion Ghana cedis to provide electricity for all of us. That's going to subsidize our electricity bill. It's about 4.5 million meters that will be considered for this. So it will cover 4.5 million meters. Out of that 4.5 million meters, 1 million of those will be under the lifeline bit. So those people will have electricity for free. And I think beyond this coronavirus exercise, we need to start thinking critically at how we can extend some of these social services, because there are people amongst us who can't afford electricity but will need it. So the energy minister talked about people who have just one TV, a fan, a small fridge. Are these people that perhaps government can help moving forward? Are there some manufacturing companies that may have a competitive advantage against imports if we subsidize some of their electricity bills? So it's an interesting time, and I think we can learn a lot from this coronavirus experience to, pivot our developmental agenda. But another thing that we should all be celebrating is that we've tested over 50,000 people, and just 641 came out positive, and 83 people have already recovered. So as you're stepping out, if someone tells you they know somebody who was positive and tried negative, use it as an opportunity to educate them that they are Ghanaian first, they are a human being, they are not a coronavirus, identity. That's not their identity. They are not a victim of coronavirus. They are humans first, and they deserve all of our love.
Yeah. I just want to say, as we wrap up now, that just remember, we watched Mr. Fred Dra, give us his testimony. Just remember that even when he was at home with his family did not get infected. So it's not as dire and as severe as it may be, it may seem, through some of the reportage or the stories that you hear. And this is a positive case. Ghana, we will come out of this better.
Yes. Thank you guys so much for staying with us for this extended version of Breakfast Daily. Don't forget that at 3 p.m. we'll have an extensive coverage of COVID-19, not just in Ghana, but the continent of Africa and the whole world. So you want to tune in for that. And all of your coronavirus news, you can head on to citynewsroom.com/coronavirus.
Right. So we'll see you same time tomorrow. 7:30.
My name is Jifa Amata.
And I'm David Kwekusit.
Enjoy your day and please stay safe.
Citi TV is live on DSTV. Go to channel 363. On GoTV, access Citi TV on channel 182. On a digital TV, please press the menu button on the remote control and run a new search on your TV. Take note that without an antenna, you cannot access Citi TV on your television. Citi TV can be accessed on a free-to-air digital box like the GoTV and StarTimes box. Citi TV, it's your world.
My name is Baba Mahama. I've come here to talk about the topic of unretirement, how to successfully manage the third phase of your life. For a long time, people have seen retirement as that period in your life where work is not mainstream and where relaxation takes over much of your life as you wait to join the greater majority. But occurrences within our lifetime point us to a different way of looking at retirement. In fact, that is why I call it unretirement. The third phase of your life is not a period where you just sit down, relax, and wait for death. It is a period of full-time living, full of opportunities which you can exploit to give you even a better life than you had in your youth. But to be able to do that, you need to reorient your mind to understand that man is not just living for 65 years as most of our forefathers did. We are going to live for some 80, 90, 95 years. And if you retire at 60 and see retirement as relaxation, then you would have lost a whole lot of some 3 decades of your life just folding your hands and waiting. So that is why we talk of unretirement. To have a successful unretirement, you have to think of 5 building blocks. The first, of course, is finance. Because any time in your life, you need money around you to be able to meet your needs, arrest emergencies, and be of support to other people. But it takes more than money, because you need a body to take you through retirement. If you don't have the proper body built up and healthy at the time you are retiring, all the money you have made will have to go back to doctors and pharmacists to get you back the body that you have lost. It takes more than finance and your body, of course, and health. It also takes finding happiness in life. Happiness can come through engagement with your passion, where you work to support other people and make their lives better. Once you discover your passion, you actually cease from working. You are pursuing a hobby and you might be paid for it, but you are driven by the fact that you are of service to humanity and you are fulfilling what you like. Of course, you must also think of work that is built on that passion, not work that is driven by the desire for money. once you make money in your youth days and in your adulthood, in your third age, you can afford to do things that are driven by your passion rather than the desire to get wealth. And when you pursue that, you find out that your life becomes more fulfilling. And of course, for anybody who takes life seriously, especially for those of us who have come to realize that we have a maker and we are accountable to him, you have to think of spirituality. What are you doing to fulfill the plan that your maker has for you? In the Bible, we are told that I have the plans I have, I know the plans I have for you. They are plans for good and not for evil, as Jeremiah 29:11 puts it. If you don't serve your maker today, what answers will you provide when you face him? In conclusion, just keep in mind that life is not a guided tour. It is a journey. So you can make mistakes in handling